get your balls. We're going to start with the balls today. Welcome to the HATHA / YIN yoga practice for Tuesdays. And you can take them right behind the back and you could lean into them, walk your feet away. Sometimes it's hard to find a wall space. You might need to travel with your device. But this is such a great way to start off any practice, any physical practice. You know, I went to a chiropractor this week and I went to a massage therapist recently, and it's highly, highly recommended. Start with the balls, tennis balls, physio balls, lacrosse balls, whatever you have. And then you get your squats in too, and it brings us into the body, out of the busy mind. And you can be really gentle and hardly lean, or you can walk super far away and really be leaning into the balls. You decide. And then press your top lip to your bottom lip. There you go. And think about only breathing in and out through the nose. So if you do that and you realize you're congested, take a moment to go grab a Kleenex and you know, clear your sinuses up. Often, because I'm teaching a lot, I end up breathing in and out through the mouth, and you hear me with the big ha. But really see if you could stay with the in and out through the nose. And become aware of the sound of your breath and see if you can slow it down. When you get to the top of your inhalation, breathe in more than you normally would. And let that be your practice to have fuller inhalations than you normally would. And then when you get to the bottom of your exhalation, do the same thing. Completely empty the diaphragm as if you chose to get rid of every last little bit of stale air. You might have a little, you know, that last little bit just to get that breath out. So 3-part yoga breath. You're breathing into the belly, sternum, upper lobes of the lungs. Full, deep diaphragmatic breath. Inhaling and expanding, exhaling and maybe drawing the belly back towards the spine to help facilitate that getting rid of every last bit of breath. And don't forget your butt. Just do the balls for another 3 minutes. So you could maybe one on the butt. Maybe you decided you want to work on your pecs tonight or your shoulders with the balls. I'm going to go straight to my hips. So when you breathe in, you allow expansion. When you exhale, you know, check in to see a little maybe contraction in the abdomen towards the spine. And just think, if you practice that during yoga for the whole hour, regardless of whether I remember to bring it up or not, it will start to become a habit for off the mat. So whether you're driving, whether you're out for a walk, your breath will enhance your experience. If you keep it long and deep and even, everything's better. Plus, you'll be staying in present moment if you're focusing on that conscious breath. So if you are familiar with the Ujjayi breath, begin it now as well. It's like constriction maybe at the back of the throat, the glottis, and breathing in and out through the nose again. And there's a definite sound. Good. Big circles. You can go up and down, you could circle, you could just, actually sometimes I think people discover spots that they didn't even realize they had a knot, and then you just hang out, breathe, you know, apply pressure, release, apply pressure, release. There's a science behind them, these balls, but I couldn't tell you it. I just know that it's highly recommended. For me, on a personal note, it feels great, and it's a good way to start a practice. So how about the feet? Don't forget the feet. If you have children in your life, or grandchildren, or kids around that are really hyper and don't seem to be in their body at all, and they're over visiting, and you want to do something with them and you can't think of what to do, after playing with the ball for a while, you know, back and forth, say, how about a ball massage? And I think they'd like, what? But I think you could have a lot of fun with that. Kids need to be grounded in their bodies. We don't want them worrying. With COVID, with wearing masks, with wearing face visors, there's a lot of short, shallow breath happening. There's a lot of anxiety and some mental health issues. And the breath becomes compromised right off the bat, you know, when you're worrying or you're fearful. So that's the other thing with our practice on the mat. We want to take it off the mat. And you can influence the people around you. If you are breathing this nice, slow, deep breath, it's almost like it by osmosis, they get the benefits and they'll start to slow down and find that nice, peaceful, calm breath as well. Wow, that's really amazing. So we'll put them aside, do a little body tapping before we come down. Take your right hand, make a soft fist with your right hand. We'll start with the left shoulder. Sometimes we just get so busy, we get out of the body. We don't even realize that we're a mad mess of tightness and soreness because we just won't stop. There's chores that are never finished. Put down one thing and there's another thing to do. If you finish one room, there's another room. Plus there's all the fun to be had out there. And sometimes we have to slow down, take a rest, put your feet up. And if you were brought up, I think like me, to think that putting your feet up, especially in the middle of the day, constituted being lazy, or, you know, just not good, if you're the kind of person that's embarrassed if you're caught on the couch with your feet up, then, you know, like, give yourself a break and maybe think about, okay, maybe I'll set the timer on my phone or the stopwatch or whatever for 10 minutes, or the timer on the stove, and say, okay, I can at least give myself 10 minutes. Up and down. And honestly, if you decided that you were going to have a yoga practice every day that constituted 12-minute shavasana every day, that's a gift. A mindful 12 minutes of, you know, lying on your back with the bolster or legs up on a wall or chair. That's such a wonderful gift you could give yourself. And of course, bringing your focus to your breath too. So tap the belly all the way around, come up around the rib cage, and then tap the hip flexors, open the legs, come down, outside edge of the legs right to the ankles, and up the inside edge. Tap, 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 tap. Waking up the lines of energy, the meridians in the body. Light tapping. And you could move on to the quadriceps. And from the knees right up to the hips and down again. And then give your knees a little rub come deeper into the squat and find the hamstrings. Knees are bent, hips are reaching back, then working with the calves. And then tap the top of the feet. Yikes. And hands on the knees, come up nice and slow. And I feel like we went from the hip flexors and down, and we forgot the glutes. So give yourself a tap on the butt. Tap, 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 or pummel. And then we're going to come down onto the mat, but grab your balls again. I guess one of my favorite things to do with the balls when we're seated is to do both feet at once. For one thing, when we're sitting down. So both feet at once. Just a little more. If you have a low point in the day where, you know, maybe every day at 3 o'clock you absolutely fade, can you imagine if you thought, well, maybe I'll, you know, do a little body tapping, a little ball rolling, and then a 10-minute shavasana. What a gift. And then the calves, so you could place the balls underneath the calves. Just a little forward and back, and maybe circling. So Sunday's yin practice, I read quite a bit from Bernie Clark's really definitive book on yin yoga called The Complete Guide to Yin Yoga. But I'd just like to give you, well, one of the things he says in this book, and he has 10 flows that are very specific. They overlap as far as what you're doing, but they're specific to working with different meridians in the body, different areas. But it's always 3-minute meditation for every single one at the beginning of class. So I feel like we're really in our body now. We've moved a little bit. So I'd like to have, I'm going to get my timer, a 3-minute meditation. And why do I tell you how long it is? I think because it's unbearable sometimes when you're new to meditation, or even if you're not new, wondering, oh my goodness, how long is this going to be? So I think that a lot of people feel like that. So I'm going to go to my timer and stopwatch. And I'm going to read from a book very briefly once we start. And it's my new favorite book. And of course it's called Breath. Breath by James Nestor. He's on every CBC podcast and international podcast imaginable now, talking about breath. And really it's everything you ever knew about breath from this class. So of course it's reaffirming. I love to read this, but it's also a different take. It's coming from a different place, this need to find out what the benefits of breath are. So you could sit now comfortably, and we're going to have just a 3-minute sit, and I'm just going to read the first quote from the book. And of course you go to your breath and listen to the sound and lengthen and deepen the breath. And this is from 500 BC, the Zhao Destiny Stone inscriptions, so really ancient. In transporting the breath, the inhalation must be full. When it is full, it has big capacity. When it has big capacity, it can be extended. When it is extended, it can penetrate downward. When it penetrates downward, it will become calmly settled. When it is calmly settled, it will be strong and firm. When it is strong and firm, it will germinate. And when it germinates, it will grow. When it grows, it will retreat upward. And when it retreats upward, it will reach the top of the head. The secret power of providence moves above. The secret power of the earth moves below. He who follows this will live. He who acts against this will die. So in transporting the breath, the inhalation must be full. And you can begin to move your head, dropping the chin down and then moving side to side. And then up and down. You can arch the spine, dropping right into a back bend as the chin comes up. And then dropping one ear down and then the other. And then peek over each shoulder. And come back to center. Inhale, the arms right up. Reach up, grab hold of the left wrist, and then a little tug as you reach over to the right. Inhale up. Exhale over. Let's try that one more time, side to side with your breath. And release the hands. Just the left hand comes up, reach over. This time you might drop down a little further and go side to side at your own pace with your breath. And then come all the way back up, and we'll twist. Little peek over each shoulder, moving again with your breath. And then all the way back to center, and we inhale as we come forward and the shoulders come back, looking up. And exhale as you come back, tucking and feeling the spine rounding and arching, noticing. So we notice how our body feels physically, and then we check into our energy, that prana or life force. And then even noticing our emotional well-being this evening. And from that place of knowledge and awareness of how we feel physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically comes the practice. So always the reminder to move in ways that are right for wherever you're at tonight. Circle the body. Circle the other way. And release. Good. And then from here we'll move, we can straighten the legs first, give them a little shake. Wiggle the toes. And we're going to do butterfly with toes in zipper. So toes in zipper, all that means, and you're on your cushion, is see if you could thread your fingers through your toes. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So you try and thread your fingers through your toes. So you're giving yourself a little mini reflexology treatment here. And then take a deep breath in. And exhale. Draw yourself forward. Stay with the breath. So we're moving into a whole body yin practice. So while you're in butterfly, circle the shoulders. Bring them up to the ears and then back. And then circle the other way. So from the waist down, there's stillness. There's absolutely nothing moving. But we've got this little bit of shoulder work. You could turn your head side to side. And notice if you immediately went as far into this forward fold as you could, or if you're maybe staying with a straight spine tonight, just nice to notice what we do. And see if you can have the elbows perhaps in the crook of the knees. You could even give them a little press, or maybe you have blocks underneath your knees. And then from here, you can drop your head right down. Go back to some face yoga again. Squeeze all the muscles in the eyes, purse the lips, tighten around the cheeks. Feel the scalp engage, and then open the mouth as wide as you can. Good. Try that again. Doesn't that feel great? Squeeze everything tight. And then open everything wide. Take another deep breath in. And then as you inhale and exhale here, notice if there's any movement in the body as you breathe in and out. Maybe there's a sense of almost coming up a bit as you inhale. up, nice and slow. Release the toes, wiggle the toes, help the legs come back together, and then straighten out the legs again. Give them a shake, and windshield wiper the feet side to side. Our next pose is caterpillar, also known as straight-legged full forward fold. So you can come up. You might want to have your blanket a little up higher than you normally would. And I'm going to demonstrate tonight with the bolster. You might be using couch pillows. You might not use props at all. My very first yoga practice, there were just blocks. That was it. There's no other props. But I really do appreciate the props sometimes. And I'm even going to use, for this forward fold, the little rolled up washcloths for underneath my knees. There, okay. So nice and tall, and then folding forward. And you could have your gaze directly in front of you. You could drop your head right down. You could rest your head in your hands. Maybe you've got your nose to your knees. Maybe you're holding onto the feet. It's folding forward. So let the discipline of this next 3 minutes be to stay with your breath. You want a sense of your hips tilting forward. If you have really tight hamstrings, you can bend your knees or place a rolled up towel underneath the knees. When we come into a yin pose, we generally don't move once we've set ourselves up. The only times you might move is if you realize you've gone too far and you end up with tingling or numbness or soreness or, you know, any sharp pain, then you're going to come out of it. The other reason you might move is sometimes there's a nice release. With the breath, all of a sudden you realize, maybe I could just fold forward a bit more. Otherwise, we stay with the breath and we're still. And come up, nice and slow. And then from here we'll move into incline plane. So it's such a great counter pose after forward fold. Lean back into your hands. And we'll keep the hips on the mat for just a moment. Point your toes. Begin to arch the lower back. Lift the chest up. Bring the shoulder blades behind you towards each other. And let's start with the chin tucked. Tuck the chin as much as you can. Notice how that feels. The back of the neck. Extension at the front. Compression. And then you can look straight up, maybe towards where the ceiling meets the wall. Or you might choose to look straight up and drop your head back. And you could keep the hips on the mat, or you could lift the hips up. And release. Good. So our next pose is squat. So when we do our yin yoga practice for the whole body, we're coming into a squat. So your squat, you might be up high with your elbows on your knees and your butt pressing back behind you. You might be a little bit lower with the hips dropped right down and the elbows in the crook of the knees. And I'm just going to put the timer on. So if it becomes, remember, if it becomes painful, tingling, numbness, you're going to shift, and you might straighten up and then come back straight back into the squat, or you might choose to move into a different kind of squat with the legs together or up higher. But we'll try for the 3 minutes and see how that feels. So that's halfway. So let's maybe just change up the squat. The toe squat, you have the knees together and you're on your toes. So you might choose to have your blocks behind your heels and kind of lean into the blocks, or you might stay on your toes and have the blocks underneath your knees. And then see if we can let the arms open up. So we're really noticing the toes now and the arch of the feet. We'll bring the arms right into eagle arms. So it doesn't matter what arm's on top. You can wrap them around. And if you have shoulder issues, maybe you're going to just hold onto the shoulders instead, as if you're giving yourself a hug. Lift the elbows up. Press the elbows forward and then release that and open wide again. And we'll switch sides. So whatever arm was on top, switch it up. come onto your knees. And yes, that was a 3-minute squat. We switched it up, but nevertheless, 3 minutes and 35 seconds. And I just find it interesting to know how long it is all the time. So I always think you do too. So coming back onto your knees, we'll do an ankle stretch. Just lifting up the knees a little bit. So lots and lots of weight on the ankles. And then press the knees down and lean back into the hands. Lift the hips up. Hold, breathe, keep lifting up. Feel the stretch. Tuck the tailbone under and drop the hips back down. And then let's try that again. Lift your hips up, 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 up. Tuck the tailbone under and drop back down. And you could stay right like this, or you could open the knees a little wider. Remember, you could always be sitting on a blanket too, or sitting on a cushion. And we're going to drop down onto the elbows. And then once on your elbows, same thing, do a little wiggle with the hips, and if you really wanted to tuck them under, and lift the chest up. You could look straight up, you could keep your chin tucked, or you could drop your head back. And now press the knees down towards the mat. And you could even drop right back down onto your back. And if you are down on your back right now, come up onto the elbows. And if you're on your elbows, come all the way back up onto your knees. And we're going to move into Sphinx. But first, let's shake out the legs. So come into table and give your legs a really good shake. You can have a drink. We're going to move down onto the belly. And once on the belly, come right into Sphinx. So elbows underneath the shoulders, hands placed down. Reach back with the legs. Give a little wiggle. You'll feel the pubic bone, you'll feel the hip points, and you could lift up high, or you could drop down low. And we'll reset our timer. And then again, you have the choices with the head. You could use the block in front of you and drop your head right on the block, or you could drop your head down, or you could look in front of you. Notice if you're caving in, and notice if you're tight anywhere. See if you can breathe your way into a place that's comfortable. You might find a sweet discomfort, but we don't want pain. And you can stay here in Sphinx, or you can come up and straighten out the arms. And if you come up into Seal, and you think that's too much for you today, then drop back down into Sphinx. We're just going to be here for another minute. If you're up in Seal, come back down into Sphinx. And then from Sphinx, we'll move into our postural therapy, our restorative pose. So we drop down onto the belly, bring the arms out to T, bend the left elbow so the hands facing the front of the mat, and now bend the right elbow so the hands facing the back of the mat. Drop your head down so you're looking towards your left hand, and now bring your left leg out to the side. You can flex the foot. Lots and lots of right angles here, and we're going to stay here for just over a minute. And then straighten the left leg, turn, and look over to the opposite side. Switch the arms around, bring your right leg out to the side. You can flex the foot, and you're looking towards your right hand, which both arms are out at T, but you bend the right elbow so it faces forward, and the left elbow so it faces backwards. This is a pose that I have had so many students tell me they sleep in once they've learned it. And it's such a nice release for the one hip and for the top of the shoulders. So it's almost, for a lot of people, it's so comfortable they could go to sleep in it. Sometimes you might feel the need for a little blanket underneath the one hip or underneath the head or shoulder. And it's really important to pay attention and see if there's just that one little spot with extra support might feel better for you. And 1 minute is always recommended as a minimum. So If you are super comfortable, try staying for 2 or 3 minutes. So you're going to straighten your leg now and roll over onto your back for happy baby. I was really excited to see happy baby as a yin pose because I've always liked it. I always liked that hip opener. And if you ever feel like the squats are especially challenging for you, then move into happy baby instead. You could have a cushion underneath your head if you'd like. And you open the legs up, draw the kneecaps down, grab hold of the feet or the ankles or hands behind the thighs. And set the timer. And then once you are set up in happy baby, same thing, do some face yoga. You can think about your yin practice now today as a whole body yin practice. Squeeze, contract, wiggle, open wide. And then settle in for the ride, just the breath and you. And then for the next minute, you can open the legs wide. You could grab hold of behind the knees or grab the calves, or grab the big toes. And you can slide back into happy baby now, or you could stay with the wide stance. And then bring your feet together. Drop the feet on the mat. Bring your arms out to T. Let the knees windshield wiper side to side. And our last posture for our whole body yin practice tonight is banana asana, or half moon. So you could straighten the legs out, reach the arms overhead, and grab hold of the left wrist, reach over to the right, walk the feet over to the right. Both hips are on the mat, and then take your right foot and rest it on top of the left ankle. If the left shoulder feels like if there's any strain in the shoulders, use a blanket underneath to cushion them. And maybe you're not grabbing the wrist. Maybe you're grabbing opposite elbow, or maybe you're just reaching over to the right with both hands. If you are feeling it, then you are doing it right. Release the hands, release the legs, come back to center. Take a moment just to feel that release and feel now the body straight, strong. And then grab hold of the right wrist, reach your arms over to the left. Walk the feet over to the left. Take the left foot up to rest on top of the right ankle. And hold and breathe. And pay attention to where you feel it. Recognize when you've gone too far. Sometimes our ego gets a hold of us and we just go way too deep into a posture. So listen to your body. Slowly release and begin to move into Shavasana. Probably the original Yin pose, because we move into Shavasana and then yes, we don't move. You can lie flat on your back with bolster underneath your knee, or you can legs up on the wall. Or on a chair. So once again, revisit your body, noticing physically, mentally, energetically, your emotional well-being. these words from this ancient, I think anonymous song, poem, reading. Breathe them in. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. May good luck be with you wherever you go, and your blessings outnumber the shamrocks that grow. May your days be many, and may your troubles be few. May all God's blessings descend upon you. May peace be within you. May your heart be strong. May you find what you're seeking wherever you roam. May you have the hindsight to know where you've been, and the foresight to know where you're going, and the insight to know when you're going too far. So if most of our yin practice this evening has been 3 to 5 minutes a pose, and that's generally what they are. Sometimes they're 5 to 7, depending on who shows up to class. Then I think that our shavasana should be even longer than each one of those posture holds. So I'd like to leave you here tonight on your back in corpse pose, so not bring you up to Om, the class finished, but leave you on your back. And I hope that you give yourself permission to stay in Shavasana for at least another 3 minutes, or whatever you can, to focus on your breath. Namaste, and I will see you again.